Hello Flosstube and welcome back. I am Ros Clark. This is Ros Clark Craft here on YouTube. You can also find me as Ros Clark Craft on Instagram and Etsy. All the links are down below. Welcome, welcome back. It's been exciting to have more new subscribers. I'm just about to hit the 250 subscriber milestone, which I think you'll find all YouTubers say. I mean, that is the big milestone. Once you're at 250, you know, the sky is the limit. So thank you very much if you have subscribed in the last few weeks. If you have shared my channel or talked about my channel, given me a shout out in different ways, huge thank you. If you're watching and you haven't yet subscribed, I would love it if you would do that. And if you have subscribed, you may want to hit the notification bell, and I will tell you why in a little bit. I have a lot of things to talk about today, so I am going to crack on. I'm going to crack on quite quickly, but do feel free, if you've got questions about things that I'm talking about, do feel free to leave a question in the comments, and I'll either answer you there or I might answer in the next video. So I'm going to start with some fully finished objects. First of all, I have this. Creatures Small and Great. So you've seen this if you've watched any of my videos along the way in progress, and now it is finished. And this is the finish that I sort of always had in mind, although I was going to do it a bit more neatly. It's not perfect. There are ends coming off here, and you'll see there are some raw edges inside. I am fine with that. It's a really nice object to feel, actually. It's a really nice object to kind of hold and flick through. So it is a book. The cover is obviously the linen that I sewed on. There's just cardboard inside that, and then some fabric on the front. And then each little animal that I stitched has interfacing ironed onto it, and then a backing fabric. And so you just turn through, and you see this is where it's not brilliantly done. These are just raw edges here. Yeah, I had a better plan in mind, and then I just sort of got lazy halfway through. I was just like, oh, I'm just going to do it. I think if I do it again, I will try and do it a bit better than this. And I do plan to do it again, actually. I might talk about that. Maybe not in this video. But anyway, so you can see, you can flick through. There are all the animals, sea creatures, the ladybird. That one, it's very tiny, little hedgehog and snail, some beetles, frog, the turtle, and then the back again. Just, you know, again, you can see this is not, you know, like Von of Ife would not be impressed by that. And then I just cut the fabric that I had stitched the front cover on. I cut the piece long enough that it would go all the way around to be the back cover as well. So that was my Creatures Small and Great mini animals book. I am planning another one, at least. I will talk about that in the future. Moving on. Okay, now this is actually going to take a little bit more talking about than I thought. So this is, it's fine, I'm fine, everything is fine. And you saw this, I'd finished it last time. I told you I was going to do a hoop finish, but I wanted to paint the hoop. This is just cheap craft acrylic. I had some pale blue and I mixed in a bit of grey. So it more or less matches. I mean, it's a variegated floss, but it kind of gives that effect. And I really like that. But I went back to the Etsy page where I bought this to look and see if there were any other patterns that I wanted. And I came across a pattern that looked really familiar. It was a sort of Quaker style sampler, but a contemporary one. And it had the phrase on it, first I drink the coffee, then I do the things. And I was like, I'm sure I've seen someone talking about that in a recent video, but I don't think this was the designer that they mentioned. So I googled Quaker sampler, first I drink the coffee. Heartstring Samplery has that sampler. I'm going to put on the screen, because I don't quite know what I think about all of this. I'm going to put on the screen the Heartstring Samplery version, and then I'm going to put the version from the place where I bought this. You can see they are not the same pattern. It is not a case of someone has just got hold of the PDF, whether they bought that or somehow obtained that. sort of wiped off all the copyright claims and names and stuff, and then just uploaded it as their own pattern. It's a bigger chart, for one thing. It's got more motifs. It's not the same, but there are some quite strong similarities. So, for example, I'm going to put close-ups here. I'm sort of telling you this to remind myself as I'm editing which things I want to put up. Close-ups here of motifs from both of the samplers. I mean, that's the same motif, isn't it? And there are others too. So, I am not a copyright lawyer. I don't know whether, if you were Heartstring Samplery and the original designer of this, you would be able to sue this person for breach of copyright. I mean, I think the reality is trying to sue someone in Ukraine for breach of copyright at the moment is probably not going to go very far. But morally, I don't know. It seems to me there has been, at the very least, some plagiarism. Whether that is legally definable as copyright, I just don't know if it's enough. Yeah. You know, it's not whole-scale rub the edges off, claim it as yours. There's clearly been original work that's happened, but also is very strongly inspired by and parts of it copied from. So I haven't gone through the whole shop. There were a lot of designs there, which, you know, sometimes that is a red flag, and I perhaps should have been more careful about that. And I think the other thing is that they, you know, it's not like a shop where there's a really clearly distinctive house style. Actually, there were quite a lot of patterns that were very different style that you think, I don't think one person has done this, which, you know, Etsy shops don't have to all be the work of one designer, but yeah, I don't know. So anyway, I'm not going to tell you to go and look there. If it's somebody in Ukraine, I mean, I hope my money has gone to someone who needs it. But I also hope, I don't know. I mean, I think if you know this design, which is the one that I bought, and you think, I know who designed that, I'd like to know that, because I might go and buy their pattern as well. I'm probably not going to stitch again, but I might do that. But it's just a reminder, isn't it, to do your own due diligence when you're buying patterns online, particularly when you're buying patterns from Etsy shops and it's a, you know, designer you've not come across. Yeah. And I'm sorry if anyone has gone to that shop and bought stuff based on my recommendation from earlier. Yeah, I think that's all I have to say about that. But anyway, I still like it. I will have it on my wall. If you know of a designer who ought to have got the credit and the cash for it, I'd love you to let me know. That's that. Okay, this is another fully finished object, although it's sort of not really mine and I feel bad taking the credit for it, but I did want to show you. So this was the piece I got in the Smalls Exchange in Stitch in London. It's the same hoop that it came in with, you remember that little backing. And I just thought, actually, when I was painting the hoop for It's Fine, I just thought, you know what, I'm going to paint the hoop for this butterfly one. So I got out, this is a sort of violet colour, and it looks really great. It hangs on this wall a bit further up and across. It looks really great against the yellow, and it really makes the butterfly design stand out much more than just the plain wooden hoop. So it's just the thing, if you're doing hoop finishes, just think about, you can wrap your hoop. Some people do that. Elizabeth Ann Can Stitch has a recent video showing how she wraps her hoops with fabric or bias binding. I like to just paint mine. I think it's quicker and easier. But yeah, just think about that, because the sort of plain wooden hoop isn't necessarily the best to set off your finished work. So that's fully finished objects. I did have one other fully finished object, but I can't show you because it's gone for my Christmas Smalls Exchange that I'm taking part of. So I've taken photos of it. When my recipient has got it, I will show you. But I mean, I've posted it, but the amount of postal strikes that are happening at the moment, who knows when she will get that. So that is fully finished objects. Finished objects. Oh, now my list has fallen on the floor. It's all going to go wrong. Right, let's show you this first. Ta-da! I am so pleased I finished this. So pleased I finished it. I really thought there was a chance it might linger and not get done. I think it's really the other way up, actually. Let's do it that way. I mean, it sort of doesn't matter, but yeah, I think that's, oh yes, it does. The pins generally go that way up, don't they? So you'll remember this was by Doreen Jones. It was in a World of Cross Stitcher magazine earlier this year. The one that came out maybe June time. I mean, which probably means it's, you know, the November issue or something. This side of the design is mostly hers. This side of the design is much more me going off on one. You know, some of the elements copied over, some done. This was the leftover bit I had of the Leo and Roxy floss that I wanted to make sure I used, but most of it is just in plain anchor threads. So as you can see, I've not started work on the finishing for this. When I've done that, I will come back and show you, but I'm really pleased to have the cross stitching work done on that. I think it's such a fun design. Even if you just did hers and repeated it, it's still really fun. I'm just slightly allergic to stitching things more than once. Yeah. Good, so I'm very pleased to have done that. So then I started just a little quick project which I have finished, which I'd now, let's put it on the back of that, so because that is going to be quite see-through. So this is windowsill orchids. This again was from an Etsy shop. I'm more confident that this is a real person and her original design. You know, it's a shop that's got maybe a dozen designs and they all really look like the same person has designed them. And yeah, very pleased with that. The original has a sort of window frame stitched around it, which is why it's called windowsill orchids. I have not stitched the frame because I plan to do this probably as a hoop finish. The thing I really love about this, and I don't know how clearly you can see this, is the way the design is so carefully refined, so minimalist. There's so much negative space in there that is being used brilliantly to give the suggestion of the flowers and the leaves. Well, not so much the leaves, the flowers and the stems. Like, you know, the stems have gaps in them, but it's okay. The flowers have lots of gaps in them, but it works. So I've not stitched this in any of the called for threads. Mine are all, no, they're a mix. There's a couple of Steph Francis threads and several Classic Colourworks threads. Yeah, I will let you know. If you're interested in knowing which threads I used, let me know. I needed to change particularly the threads on this paler flower on this side because the original was stitched on a much darker background fabric, and the very pale off-white that they'd used. This is Zweigart 36 count. I think 36 count Zweigart platinum. So yeah, this just needed a little bit more colour to make sure it would show up on the fabric that I used. But yeah, really pretty, really enjoyed stitching that. Quick stitch, 2 or 3 evenings, beautiful colours. So that will be a nice hoop finish. Right, that is all my finished objects. Ugh. Sorry, reclaiming the list, otherwise this really will go crazy. I have a couple of works in progress. Let me show you those. Let's try using that one again. So this is one I'd forgotten about, and I was just sort of sorting through my stash and charts and stuff, and I found this. It is, have I got the thing here? Yes. So this is the chart, and I actually bought this as a kit. So that's the full chart. And I bought this as a kit. It's from Keslin's. It's called Missy 101. And I bought it because it includes Vicky Clayton silk. So this thread, which is what came with the kit, is a Vicky Clayton silk. And at that point, well, and still, I'd never stitched with silk thread before. And this was, the whole kit was less than £5. It might have been less than £4, I can't quite remember. But it was not expensive. And it came with the fabric, the thread, the little charm, and obviously the chart. And I just thought, well, actually, that's quite a nice way to just try stitching with silk to see if I enjoy it, because it's an expensive thing, stitching with silk. I don't want to spend lots of money kitting up a project and then find, you know what, it just doesn't really work for me. So this seemed like a little low risk way of trying it. And I think the answer was, as you can see, I hadn't done loads. It was okay, but I don't think I loved it. What I'd been worried about, and I know this from doing proper embroidery, is you have to have very, I want to say soft fingers, smooth fingers, I think is the word I'm looking for. Whereas mine are quite often chapped and chipped and have got little blisters or holes where needles have poked in or bits, I don't know, and those can kind of catch on the silk and roughen it and cause problems. And I don't think I had it was in the summer I started stitching, so I don't remember having those problems with this. So I'm going to pick it up and finish it off. You know, I don't think it's going to take too long, and then it'll be done, and then I'll have another reassessment of me and silk stitching. But I certainly wasn't rushing off to say, oh, I must start kitting everything in very expensive silk as a result of this. So that, work in progress. And then this one, which I've been talking about for weeks now and finally started. This is the Darwin sampler by Hannah Cornish of Hannah Stitching. She has a Gumroad shop where you can buy this. And I have not got a picture. Maybe I'll try and put a picture in here. The download just comes with the chart, but there is a picture, so I'll put it there. I just love this. It says, it's going to say, but I am very poorly today and very stupid and hate everyone and everything. And there are beetles. And I just love that. I just love that. So these are not absolutely my top favourite colours. This is a Fox and Rabbit 36 count Winter Wren, which it just seemed to me to reflect the mood of the saying. And so then I was looking for a variegated colour that I had in stash that would contrast well with this. And I had various that I thought might work. I had a couple of cottage garden threads that I bought just to see, but all of them had at least one section of the variegation that didn't really stand out terribly well. And then I found this. This is a Steph Francis thread that I bought, and it was more variegated than I was expecting, and it wasn't going to work for the thing that I had in mind. And I couldn't quite work out what it would work for, because I don't know if you can see, it has this orange and quite a bright yellow, and then this is a green section, and it also has a brownish section as well. And I couldn't quite work out what I would ever be stitching that needed all of those colours in a variegated sort of way. But actually for this monochromatic sampler, because it's, you know, designed to be just stitched in one thread, I think it's going to work really well. And it stands out really nicely against the brown. Just a word on Steph Francis threads. I don't know if you've ever tried them. I like them because of their beautiful colours. She does really, really lovely jewel-toned, bright threads. She does, as far as I can tell, hand dye rather than over dye, by which I mean, I think she always starts with a plain white or off-white unbleached thread and dyes onto that, rather than some of the over-dyed floss you buy, where they start with DMC usually, already dyed, and then add colour to that to give extra richness and depth and variegation. And what that means with the Steph Francis threads is sometimes the dye doesn't take brilliantly well all the way through all the strands, and you do get occasional little flecks of the white coming through. I haven't noticed any, to be fair, so far in this one, but in other projects I've done where I've used her threads, so I used quite a lot of her threads on this, I definitely noticed some in this bright red and in this pink. I don't know if you can see here, because I'm holding it double, one of the threads there has got the pink, but the other thread has definitely got white coming through. So it's just to bear in mind really what you're using it for and whether that's going to bother you. I wouldn't say I absolutely recommend it as the best quality dye work I've seen, but I do love the colours. So just to bear in mind. Yeah, so those are my two works in progress. Both of them I think are reasonably quick stitches. This is bigger, but it's you know, it's not got a lot of coverage. It's words and a few little motifs and so on. So that is what I am working on. Right, what do we got next? FLOSSMAS. I'm not doing FLOSSMAS. You may have already worked that out. I am enjoying watching FLOSSMAS. I'm watching quite a few FLOSSMAS videos. I have to say, I'm finding myself drawn to the ones that are not just people opening advent calendars, particularly because lots of people I normally watch on YouTube have the same advent calendars. And there's only so many times I can be surprised by what's in the Patchwork Rabbit advent calendar today. So yeah, so I'm sort of rotating between some of them because I can't watch them all anyway. But I wanted to mention a couple of people who are doing something slightly different in theirs that you might not have come across. So I'm particularly excited about Yasmin's FLOSSMAS videos. She's including in hers, well, she's got a tea advent calendar, so that's quite fun. She's making a cup of tea from it every day and giving us a little review of that. She is talking about stitching things, but she's also, because she is Polish, talking about Polish Christmas traditions, which is really interesting to hear about. Although the first one that she talked about was apparently in Poland, it's very traditional to clean your house very, very thoroughly at the beginning of December. Yeah, I mean, I won't be making that my personal tradition. I will not be scrubbing my oven in December, or, you know, cleaning the windows and washing the curtains or whatever else it is. But yeah, I thought that was kind of hilarious that was the first tradition, is clean your house. So do go and watch hers, because I think there'll be more really interesting things to see there. Stitchy Rach is doing FLOSSMAS, and what she's doing, as well as just, you know, here's my stitching for the day, she is going through her pile of unfinished object finishes and starting with things that she stitched, you know, back when she was 12 or 13. So there's some really fun things in there, and it's really interesting to see, you know, a journey that I think probably quite a lot of us can identify with, things that we did when we were first starting stitching when we were much younger, and then, you know, I assume there'll be some kind of moving through into what she's done in more recent years. So those are quite fun. I also have always enjoyed watching Ellie at Craft House Magic. Ellie does a whole lot of crafts. She is a yarn dyer by trade, so there's always quite a lot of knitting and crocheting, but she also does patchwork and dressmaking. Occasionally she does cross stitch, although not very often. She's got a little boy, a little 1-year-old, so she's making things for him quite often, and usually he makes an appearance. She does a weekly podcast throughout the year with all her crafty things, but in December she does like a proper vlogmas where it's bits of footage from throughout the day of different things she's been doing. It includes advent calendars, but it's like an advent calendar that she and her friend do as a swap for each other. Her husband's advent calendar, which is a Lego one, and he opens the thing and then makes the little bit of Lego. So, you know, quite different from what you might be getting if you're just watching a lot of Flosstube. Carolina Evertote is doing their holiday countdown stitch along, and I'm enjoying watching how that design is coming together. So anyway, lots of people are doing FLOSSMAS, so I am not doing FLOSSMAS. I always think it's quite a big commitment at a really busy time of year. Like a video every day, it's quite a big deal in general. But in December, in the run up to Christmas, I think people are slightly crazy. So anyway, what I think I am going to do, I've got a plan, we'll see, is I think I'm going to try and do the 12 days of Christmas. So the 12 days of Christmas begin on the 25th of December, and then they finish on 12th night on January the 5th. So that is a time of year where traditionally a lot of us have a bit more time on our hands, you know, that particularly between Christmas and New Year sort of slump. I hope you will have a bit more time for stitching, and therefore maybe a bit more time for watching YouTube. I will certainly have a bit more time for making and uploading videos. Yeah, so I've got an idea. I've got a couple of ideas of things that I'm going to do with that. There'll be some looking back at this year, looking forward for next year, talking about various plans and things that you might want to join in with or not. So I'm aiming for like maybe 10-15 minute videos for the 12 days of Christmas. That is why you might want to have your notification bell on, because I will hopefully be posting at quite different times from normal. Okay, what else? Before we go any further, I've got some art. We had art yesterday, and we were doing just a sort of one-off project in art yesterday. And I really like it when we do things where we sort of have a theme, but we build up across different ideas. So this is the first thing we did. Hold it so you can see it. So this was just using ordinary Crayola wax crayons, which are just really fun to play with. And we started just by drawing this very basic triangle tree, and then you coloured it in, choices of your colours, however you want to do, in bands going in and then in bands going out. Really simple. You start by drawing this sort of outline frame on your page, and then you just work around it. Then we moved on to using oil pastels on a black piece of paper. Same principle, but just draw a shape of your choice. So I drew this R, and then bands of colour going in, bands of colour on the outside. And then, final piece, you could choose whichever you want to do, bigger piece of paper, bigger style. So I did this. So I started with this sort of landscape silhouette in the middle. And instead of just colouring it all black, I did sort of bands of the grey. And then bands going upwards in a sort of sunsetty way, and bands going downwards in a kind of landscapey kind of way. But as I was going, I found myself being more interested in the overlap between the bands than having very focused bands. So I ended up making it more blurry. And then I wanted to put some structure back in, so I put lines over the top, and I might go in and put some lines down here as well. Anyway, really fun, really nice way of spending an afternoon, just with very simple. So I went back to using the wax crayons. You could use oil pastels on the white paper as well. You could do whichever you wanted. And I thought I'd mention it partly just because I like it, and I know people like to see some of the things that I do that are not just the stitching. But also, I think this could be a thing you could do with actually quite young children, to be honest. Take a smaller piece like this. So if you've got an A4 piece of card, fold it in half, draw the frame, or get them to draw the frame, draw basic shapes. So like this could simply be a Christmas tree, basic shape of whatever, snowman, Christmas present, you know, really simple. Give them the crayons and get them to do the colouring in. And it's basically just stripes getting smaller. You could just do it with stripes getting bigger, or you could help them, you know, work out how to do a sort of outer pattern as well. And Bob's your uncle, you've got a Christmas card for Granny and Grandpa, and you've kept them quiet for half an hour. If you want to, you could then go over it. You know, if you just use the crayons, you could get like a Sharpie or possibly a felt tip pen, but because it's wax, I'm not sure how well that will work. But anyway, you could get a Sharpie, and like if you've done a snowman, you could put in like the eyes and the mouth or something with a pen afterwards. So that was this week's art. Right, now we just have lots and lots of things to tell you about. Where am I going to start? I'm going to start with a Stitch Chat Across the Pond happening on December the 10th. This is being organised by Marie from Stitches and Diamonds and Angie from Tiny House Stitcher. Sign-ups are closed for the December the 12th one, but I wanted to let you know because they are planning to do this every month. And sign-ups will open for each month fresh, so nobody gets automatically included if you've done it before. So if you would be interested in that, it's a Zoom call for a couple of hours, a sort of stitch along, chat, meet new people. I don't know, it's the first one, so we'll see what else happens. If you're interested in that, you'll want to be following either or both of Marie or Angie, probably on Instagram, to find out about it in time to sign up. I will put their links below. if you are going next week, do let me know in the comments. I would love to know who's going to be there and say hello to you if you are planning to be there. Stitch your stash. Now this is the thing I am excited about. So I was just thinking a couple of weeks ago about, you know, what sort of things might I want to do next year, and people got all sorts of plans and this. And I don't have, like I say, lots of whips on the go. I have the two things that I've just shown you and my big Saviour's Praise sampler, and that's it. And I don't want to build lots of whips. But what I do seem to have, even though I have actively been trying to avoid it, is quite a build-up of charts that I want to stitch. 1 or 2 kits, but mostly just charts. And I think it's very easy, isn't it, to get caught up in the excitement of the new shiny. You know, somebody releases a pattern, you think, oh, I love that, I want to stitch that. You get that, and you're all excited about it, so you start that. And you forget that actually you've got a dozen other things that you were excited about stitching that you already own. So Stitch Your Stash 2023, I'll put the hashtag here so that you know what to use. I talked about this on Instagram a week or 2 ago, and lots of people seemed excited about joining in as well. It's very low-key, very informal. All you're going to do is at the start of each month, pick one chart that you already own and work on that. So probably not something that's already in progress. You know, it's not really a works in progress challenge, but just to make a new start. Mine are mostly quite small, so I'm going to try and start and finish, but you absolutely don't have to be about the finishing. Just to say, do you know what, I bought this pattern because I loved it, so I'm going to stitch this. It's not about no new buys. You spend your money how you want, when you want. Like I say, it's not terribly structured or official, but if you're picking a chart that you already own out of your stash and stitching on it, then use that hashtag Stitch Your Stash 2023. And I'm going to try and pick one at the beginning of every month and show you at the end of the month where I got to with it. Stitch Your Stash 2023. I just thought, oh, I better just go and check that I've actually got enough patterns in my stash. I'm pretty sure I've got 12, but I'll just check to make sure I've got. Anyway, I have 29, so I think I'll be fine. That's how I found that old work in progress that I'd forgotten about it when I was going through for those. I suspect quite a lot of us have many more than 12. I think we'll be fine. So Stitch Your Stash 2023. What else? Oh, I meant to tease this at the beginning. I'll do the teaser now, even though we're nearly coming towards the end. I had tea last week with the legend that is Hazel. So I've got some things that she gave me because she's very generous like that. So I'll tell you about that right at the end. Before we get there, seasonal freebies. So this is exciting. I've got 4 little patterns. I think they're all the same size, and I think they are 75 by 45. Something like that. I can't remember precisely. And there's one for each season: winter, spring, summer and autumn. And what I am going to do, they sort of they're all very similar in overall style, but with seasonal motifs, and I'm going to stitch them in more seasonally appropriate colours as well. You'll see when the first one comes out how that's going to work. So you could plan to stitch all 4 of them together, but I think they'd work really well if you stitch them separately and then, you know, sort of rotate them in and out as you display them throughout the year. My plan with those is that they are going to be freebies for the season that you're stitching them in. So the first one that's going to come out will be the winter one, and I'm going to aim to have it out before Christmas. I don't really expect anyone to start stitching on it before Christmas. I'm going to aim to have it out before Christmas. Maybe I'll aim for the solstice. Maybe I'll aim for the 21st to have that out. And then that will be free from December the 21st until March 21st, when I'll take that one down and put the spring one up. So if you want to get them as freebies, you're going to want to download them throughout the year. And then at the end of the year, I plan to take them all down and package them and release them for sale in my shop. But they're going to be free if you want to stitch throughout the year. So that's just a little heads up. There will be more information about that coming. One other freebie that I wanted to mention that I just saw today from Blue Ribbon Designs. It's called Bundled Up Birdie. I'll put a picture here. That came out today. And I mention it not only because I think it's really lovely, and I think there is definitely still time to stitch this before Christmas if you want to, but because there's a really interesting blog post linked to this. So I'll put a link below to the post where you can download the pattern. But in that blog post, she links to an older one where she talks about the Just Cross Stitch Ornament magazine. I think that's the right name for it. Which she designed for many years, and it made a really interesting read to me. So that's Bundled Up Birdie, very sweet freebie. You can go and download that, and if you're interested, read her story behind that, because yeah, it was a little bit eye-opening for me, I have to say. Right, we're doing quicker than I thought. Obviously, normally I just waffle on for ages. I haven't really talked about my plans. So my plans are to finish the 2 whips that I've got there and stitch up the model for the seasonal freebie. And honestly, that is probably all that I will get done. I'm planning to have one more normal Flosstube in a couple of weeks' time. That'll be the last one before Christmas. And then, like I say, the 12 days of Christmas. I've got another model, the one that I've been telling you about for weeks, that is sort of in abeyance at the moment because I decided I needed to include an extra colour, and then I couldn't find one in my stash that really worked. So then I've had to send off for several more skeins to try and get one that I think will be right. And again, Royal Mail is rubbish at the moment because they're on strike all the time. So it's just sitting waiting. But as and when that floss arrives, hopefully I will finish that. I'd really like to finish that as soon as I can, to be honest. So those are things. It feels like it's a month of sort of finishing stuff up, doesn't it? December. So it'd be nice to get to, well, it would be nice to get to Christmas Day and think, you know what, I haven't got anything that I've got to be stitching. I can stitch what I want. And I might aim for a new start on Christmas Day. I might not. I might try and work on Saviour's Praise on Christmas Day. That would be a good thing to do. Yeah. And I'll tell you more about what I'm doing next time. But I think for the moment, it's trying to get those things finished and off the table is really the plan. I'd really like to fully finish the stitch roll and have that to show you next time. So, Hazel. It was so fun. We'd agreed to meet in the supermarket car park in the small town where we were meeting, and then we would go and have a cup of tea and whatever. And I had got there a little bit early, so I'd gone to do some shopping in the supermarket, and I came out and I could see Hazel and her husband both kind of looking around the car park. So I waved, and they're very excited. I'm like, do you know? And Jim's like, you've come to meet the legend, haven't you? And I'm like, she is the legend. If you watched any Stitch in London roundup videos, almost everybody was talking about Hazel. If you didn't see that, the one I would particularly recommend would be Carolina Evertote. So it's on her own Off the Grid Needle Arts channel, and you know, she talks about Hazel and there's pictures of them there, and you know, she just was just a lovely person to have at the retreat. And she was on my table, and we worked out that we live probably from her house to mine, it's about half an hour, and we sort of were able to meet up at a small town halfway between, and we had a nice cup of tea and a piece of cake. And then there isn't a cross-stitch shop there, but there is a patchwork shop, so we went and had a little look around there. And there's also a really good charity shop there, and we went and had a little look around there as well. So here is a picture of the two of us, just to prove that it really, really happened. I did get to have tea with the lovely Hazel, and she had brought, which will be no surprise to anyone who met her, a big bag of stuff for me. I did take a little gift for her, but inevitably my gift was outshone. So she had made me, first of all, this tote bag. And it is Christmas, but it's not like in-your-face Christmas. Do you know what I mean? And it's definitely my sort of Christmas colours, with the pink and the mint green and the turquoise and these sort of check patterns. Anyway, it's really lovely, and it's really nicely made. There's some kind of lining or interfacing on there. The back is just plain green, and it's got really nice long straps so that you can carry a really good amount of stuff in here and get it over your shoulders nicely. And then I don't know if this, no, it's not, I thought it was denim, but it's not. It's actually a sort of gold sparkly fabric on the strap. So that, but obviously it wasn't empty because, you know, this is from Hazel. So I'm gonna work up through these. So this is what I was expecting her to bring, was a little pile of fabric, and actually this isn't all of it. I'd taken it out to my sewing room, and then I was like, oh no, I must bring it back and show the video, and I think I've left half of it there. But anyway, there was a whole little stack of charm squares in batik prints in different colours. Yeah, I don't know, I think there were, I don't know, 10 or a dozen or something. But anyway, just to give you an idea. So that's what I was sort of expecting that she was going to bring. She'd mentioned she's, you know, trying to get rid of scraps and would I like some. So there were those. Then there were these two little pouches with vinyl fronts. So this little one, you know, oh, that's doing it up again. You know, opens up like this. It's got a little sort of key ring tag there, kind of thing you could use to clip to the inside of your handbag, or actually put your keys on it. It's got a little charm on there, and all in these really lovely, she knows I like bright colours, really lovely bright colours. And actually Hazel had one of these that she was using literally as her purse, which I think was kind of genius. You know, it's a really good size for that and easy to find in the bottom of your handbag. But of course you could also use it, you know, it'd be perfect just to put in scissors and a couple of flosses and notions like that. Then this one, which is slightly bigger, in this beautiful, it's sort of batikish but not, sort of grungy with stars, and yeah, really lovely. And then a matching but different lining fabric, and again, you know, nice zip. This one doesn't have the tag on the outside, but it does have just the cutest, can you see that charm? That is a pair of scissors. Isn't that just adorable? And then a little leather tag, and this one sort of has a lobster clasp that you can kind of clasp it on and off your zipper if you wanted to. So I mean, you could fit a whole small project in that one, I think. So really lovely. But of course that's not everything. She's also made me a Christmas ornament. Look at that. So it's got little jingle bells at the bottom, and then it's got beautifully stitched sort of snowflake, that's my bit of floss on top of it, let's get rid of all those, snowflake pattern, and it's got her initials and the year and little sequins at the bottom, and then it's got beads all the way around. Those are individually stitched on beads all the way around, and then this little sort of button and ribbon and trim bow and hanger at the top, and it jingles. So that's just adorable, and I felt really bad that I hadn't sewed anything for her, but I just, yeah, anyway, I hadn't. But yeah, so that was lovely. So we had a really nice time chatting and then shopping, and we're hoping sometime in the new year to have a little day over at the Nimble Thimble, which is, it's a bit further away. It's maybe an hour and a half away. But there we go. So she made me that. We also, like I say, did a little bit of shopping. I can't remember what I bought at the Patchwork shop. Oh, I bought a couple of things for my Smalls exchange partner, so I can't show you those. And I bought some fabric to make a dress. So that's right. I knew there was this Patchwork shop. I didn't realise they also have, not a huge range, but a small amount of dressmaking fabric. And I bought some beautiful, beautiful patterned needle cord, which I plan to make into a lovely dress. I will show you if that ever happens. So that's what I bought in the Patchwork shop, and Hazel needed to get some batting, and she also bought various bits and pieces. And then we went into the charity shop, and I got these. There are two of them. They're just like wooden MDF stars, painted gold, little hangers in the top. They were £1.50 for the two of them. And I mean, you could definitely just mount a finish in the middle of one. I think what I plan to use them for, and in fact have already used them for, is as sort of props for taking photos of models. So this is a little spoiler alert. The small that I sent in the Christmas exchange is a new pattern of mine that I wanted to test out. So before I sent it, I took some model photos of that. It won't be coming out anytime soon, maybe in time for Christmas in July. So watch for it sometime next year. But I wanted to take photos before I sent it. So that's what those were for £1.50. I thought it was all right. And also for £1.50, I bought a picture frame, which I think, had I found this before I'd finished Elephantine, would have been a good frame for Elephantine. And I think it's going to be the frame for the next one in that series. Probably I will repaint it. I might not, but probably I think I will. So again, for £1.50, nice wooden frame, good sort of size, easy to repaint. So I think that might be everything. That is not quite as long as I had feared it might be. I hope that doesn't just mean I've talked really, really fast. Probably it does. I'm sorry about that. Christmas cards are still in the shop. If you did want to get any, I would recommend ordering pretty quickly. Again, you know, I can't be responsible for Royal Mail at the moment. I, try and get things posted out within a day or two, but I can't predict at this point how long it's going to take to get from me to you. And then if you've got to post the card on to somebody else, I just think if you're at all thinking about doing it, do it sooner rather than later, is what I will say about that. So I will be back in a couple of weeks' time. Hopefully I will have some things to show you. I'm going away for a little mini break, week on Monday, week on Sunday, week tomorrow. Good, that's sooner than I thought. And I'm having a day out at Chatsworth, so I might try and take a little bit of footage there. They're doing a Nordic theme for Christmas at Chatsworth this year, so I will see what I can get of that. So I might have that to show you. Hopefully I'll have some stitching and some finishes to show you. I'll have a clearer idea of what's going to happen with 12 Days of Christmas. I might even have the seasonal freebie ready to show you. No promises on that. Good. So I hope December is going to be a happy month for you and for your family, whatever you're doing, whether you celebrate Christmas or not. I hope it is not just a stressful, busy, getting through it time of year. Try and find time every day to sit down, even if it's just for 20 minutes and, do some stitching, watch some Flossmas, whatever relaxes you. Have a nice cup of tea. It'll all be fine. A few weeks' time, Christmas will be over. It'll all be fine. And I will see you soon. Thank you so much for watching.